Fighters, today on the podcast, we've got an incredible story of a guy named Micah Miller who is an inspiration to so many people. A few years ago, he took a chance on myself and on our Contractor Fight programs when he was over $400,000 in debt. Massive stress in every area of his life, and now he is knocking on the door of $6 million and also a very high profit business. All right, he's finally achieved that financial freedom for his family, and I'm excited to share his story with you today. Listen, Micah and I have also been working on something that's going to be pretty special for you guys that could shake things up for you and really change the game for you. So stay tuned for that. Without further ado, here's Micah Miller.
The term fighter has a lot of depth, especially inside of our community. A fighter is never done, because you don't just get to something and you've got the belt and then you're done. You set your sights on the next thing that needs to be fixed. I didn't understand numbers. I didn't really understand what we were doing. I was selling our labor at $45 a man hour, and we needed $46.20, I believe is what it was, just to break even on our labor. I remember that we kind of got to like this million, we crossed the $1 million mark. It was just kind of like whatever. The stress is unbelievable. Easton was born. And I was there for a couple hours and ended up leaving.
Went back to the work the next day.
I went back to work. It was one of those things where there was no time for me to stay. So I called Tom up and I said, "Hey Tom, I'm ready to get in your group." And he's like, "Okay, gonna put you in the Contractor Sales Academy." So I get this email and it has all these links and all these videos. And I click on the first video and they explain what a role play is. And then the next video explains like what a sales process is. And then from a sales process, they talk about knowing your numbers, and then they talk about marketing. And I sat there and I watched every single video into almost midnight or just past midnight. It was like, I was just like drinking from a fire hose. Like my mind was blown. So I started applying all of it, and then I made no sales. While I had the head knowledge, I didn't have the ability to verbalize it and actually apply it. I had taken some of those quick loans, and that really accelerated the issue. I had $422,000 in debt. It ended up being way more than that as kind of things ended up coming out of the woodwork. The situation was so bad that one day we came home and there's a warning debt taped to our door and essentially said, "You owe us X amount of money and we're coming for you."
I was pregnant with our third, and I distinctly remember being in the hospital in labor with him, checking our bank account to make sure that nothing was overdrawing. And like my mind was on that, when it shouldn't have been.
It's pretty emasculating. Yeah, not be able to provide for your family even though you're working your ass off. I had a decision to make. Double down on the business and figure out what services actually work. Or we had somebody who was interested in actually buying the business at the time. And so that's where the group really came in. I didn't just double down, I tripled down. At one point I had about 1,000 role plays under my belt in about a 12-month period. That was my expression of I'm going to make it to the other side. So coming into 2020, that was our redemptive moment. Our sales process that I had spent 2 years training to do, nobody else in our area had any understanding of how to sell over the phone, how to build out a project without ever seeing a yard. And so we were perfectly poised. 785,000 grew to 1.1, which then grew to 1.7, which then grew to 2.7, which grew to 4.5, which grew to 5.3, which grew to this year probably 5.5. It was like an oiled machine. The story I just told you is a fighter. A fighter is keeping their eye on the prize.
I mean, what's the saying? Money doesn't buy happiness, but it can make a lot of bad stuff go away. Not having the emotional stress of wondering how we're going to make payments or get groceries is life-changing.